You are listening to Basement Chronicles with Lisa Dublin, episode number 43. Hey, you made it! Welcome to my basement. I'm Lisa Dublin, a health and life coach, and I help professional and executive women to live, lead, and speak with confidence. Because you know what? Developing your confidence and deepening your faith in God is the best formula for an amazing life. So, are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to the podcast today, podcast listeners. So I have not been as regular because, life is shifting once again under me, honestly. And the one thing that I've learned, though, through all of this is to cater for change and for seasons in life and to make adjustments as my routines change and my business takes me in different directions. So I hope you forgive me for not being as regular and hopefully, we can get going again. I sat on the last podcast that I released, episode number 42, for about 2 weeks. So it really wasn't that I wasn't regular. It is that I had recorded and produced that podcast, but it was cringe-worthy, okay? But I just decided, you know what? At the moment when I wrote it, that is what I was thinking. And, I just released it. So I hope you enjoyed the podcast before this one, where I spoke about just thinking things into existence. I know you probably heard my exuberance at sitting in first class and all of that. Don't worry, follow me along long enough and soon that will be our reality, okay? This podcast, however, is about the myth of the impossible. My overall point today, podcast listeners, is that you might as well go ahead and dream big because what you think is impossible for you is somebody else's everyday reality. I learned this lesson only this week when I held in my hands for the first time a shekere. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If my Nigerian friends are listening, feel free to correct me. And I got that shekere from Nigeria. For those of you who don't know, a shekere is a West African musical instrument made out of a dried gourd upon which is placed a woven net of beads. So you can play the shekere by striking it, shaking it, rolling your palms over the beads to make a sound, and it produces both the hollowed sound of a drum and the rattling of the beads. So I've put a video link in the show notes so that you can learn more about this musical instrument. Anyways, why am I bringing up a shekere? What does that have to do with talking about the impossible? I think you'll see my point by the time I'm done. In December 2023, Nathaniel Bassey, this very great worship leader, millions of followers online, he released a song called Yahweh Sabaoth. And the thumbnail, the cover art for that song on YouTube showed him against a bright green background holding the shekere in his hand. And, it was such a triumphant pose. And I looked at that instrument and I was like, I want one of those. Oh, my goodness. I loved the instrument. I loved the look of it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get one of those. Like, why would I not get one of those? And you might ask, why did I want it? So if you've been following my story for a little while, you probably know that one of the things that I do as a worshiper of Jesus Christ is to spend time in worship. And, God has been taking me places where worship is concerned. And I love to give him the first 3 hours of the day in worship and prayer because that is what he has asked of me. And the benefits have just been amazing. So for me, worship is becoming a lifestyle. But also in the moment, you worship with instruments, you worship with hand claps, you worship with flags and streamers. And some of those instruments, for example, just in case you are listening and wondering what on earth am I talking about, tambourines, drums, saxophones, trumpets, and yes, shekeres. So I wanted one of those instruments to add to my growing worship arsenal. And so here I am looking at this picture on YouTube of Nathaniel Bassey holding the shekere. And I'm here in snowy Edmonton, not even an African from the continent, and wanting something that I don't know where to get. And here's what I said to myself. I must know someone who knows someone who can get me this instrument. I said to myself also a little phrase that I like to use when I am going after something impossible. And you can feel free to adopt that phrase when you start to go after or want to go after more impossible things after hearing this episode of Basement Chronicles. Here's what I said. You mean to tell me in this wide, wide world there is no way I can obtain a shekere for myself? You know, that you mean to tell me is like a hack for my brain and my heart. And it gets me off the impossibility train. You know, I remember saying the same statement when we were looking for a home a couple years ago, a home that would be suited to, my family's pretty tall and big. So we needed room, we needed space. In the face of all of these cookie cutter houses that everyone was showing us, houses with 3 small bedrooms, a small kitchen, very short bathtubs by our standards, tubs that I could not sit in, far less my family, all of whom are over 6 feet, save the last one who's probably going to get there anyway. He's in elementary school right now, so he is the only one shorter than me in the house. In the face of this barrage of what people considered normal, I said the same thing to myself. You mean to tell me there is no house in Edmonton that is big enough to house my family? And those statements, let me tell you, they send out, I think, a request for appearance in the spiritual realm. I swear that is what happens. You know how people send out RFPs all the time? People send out requests for proposals when you don't know who's out there, but you want a certain kind of person to respond and get a project going. I believe when I say this phrase, you mean to tell me this is like sending out in the ether a request for appearance. We locate its existence somewhere out there in the spirit realm, and our words draw it in the physical when you say stuff like that. You can perhaps have your own version of it. Something like, there must be somebody out there who, or there must be something out there for me, or there must be a job that caters to the kind of life that I want to live. I believe when you are that aspirational, it is actually acting like a request for appearance. Anywho, back to reality. Let's forget the woo-woo stuff. So I called a friend of mine who was Nigerian, and I asked her if she knew where to get the shekere. And, she didn't pay me too much mind. She sent me an Amazon link, but I didn't like the look of the ones there on Amazon. It just, like, that instrument, it's very homely. It's very, maybe some people call it basic, but I really loved what it did to worship and how people used it and how it looked. And the ones on Amazon, frankly, did not look like that. So I kept on hankering after that image, wanting it, and kept on saying, you mean to tell me I don't know somebody who knows somebody who can get me this from Nigeria? Because it's one of the places in West Africa where this instrument is readily available. So how is it, you guys, that I was introduced to a graphic designer from Nigeria who lives in Nigeria still and has since done a lot of my production covers for me? And so one day we were talking and I expressed my desire to get a shekere. This is what he says. He's like, oh, sure. They're all over the market. I can get you one. I was like, what? I learned that what I thought was difficult and had no way of obtaining in my own capacity and from my own resources was commonplace in another country. And he told me that, yes, they're all over. People sell them readily in the market. I was even able to negotiate what color beads I wanted on my shekere. And a couple months later, it arrived on my doorstep, having been shipped from Nigeria via courier. You guys, I don't want you to miss the lesson here, okay? Forget me for a while. like me and my, as we say in my society, my unfair self, troublesome, my unfair self wanting to have a shekere. But here's the lesson here. You might as well dream big, because what you are thinking of as impossible might be somebody else's everyday reality. And so, if you just shut down your dreams and don't even give them wings, that person who might readily be available and able to help you accomplish your dream, that person might never get to helping you because you shut down the dream even before you thought it and accepted it. What makes a desire impossible is not that it does not exist in this world. It is that it does not exist in your world. If I had perhaps closer Nigerian friends, or if I had ever visited a marketplace in West Africa or in other parts of the world where the shekere is produced, this would not have seemed like an impossibility for me. But what made it impossible was the fact that in my little capacity, I had no knowledge, no access, no resources, and no method to get myself a shekere. And in that regard, it was impossible. What if I had not even dreamed? What if I had not asked myself the question, what if I could get one for myself? And then decided some which what way, I did not know how at the moment, that I was going to get it. I want you to be excited about this podcast. What is impossible for you is someone else's everyday reality. So it means, number one, it can be done, it's possible. And secondly, if you connect with the right people or right resources, what you think is impossible might just be so easy for somebody else to fulfill and satisfy. But you won't ever get to that reality if you don't first think and believe that it is possible, even though you don't know how, you don't know the answer, the method, and the resource that exists. It is belief that paves the tracks between empty and full, between unknown and known, between your lack of knowledge and somebody else's everyday reality. For example, let's do this exercise together. Think of something that you think is impossible right now. Now, it could be impossible for you, as I said. Let's say it might be, I want to live in Australia, or I want to meet Rihanna, or I want to have tea at Buckingham Palace. Well, think of the most impossible thing that you can think about, and then Google it. Immediately, you will find creative answers of possibility, information that will point you in directions that you did not even know existed. You know, it's the same way when God tells you to do something. If you get that certainty in your spirit to do something, ask how. Google, and you will be surprised there is nothing new under the sun. Things are new because you have not met them yet, and that's all. So what is your version of the shekere today? What do you look at with wanting and a feeling of impossibility? First, make the decision to ask the question, what if? We shut ourselves down even before we proceed to use our imagination. Free your mind. And then, once you have asked about the possibility of what if I could coach Prince Harry? What if I could move countries next year? Stuff like that. First, make the decision to have it. Become it. Be it. Visit it. And then see how life will make a way to bring that impossible dream into your reality. So I hope this was helpful, but I really need to know if it was. You need to give me feedback, folks. If you are enjoying the podcast, or if it is making you really think, please share it with somebody that you care about, somebody who can benefit from it. And also email me. I'd love to hear from you. Lisa@lisamdublin.com. Carpe diem. I will see you in the next podcast. Bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I know that you prioritize your growth and success. So if you feel stuck in any area of your life, why don't you consider life coaching? My signature program, How to Get Unstuck Total Transformation, has helped so many professional and executive women to free themselves of limiting beliefs and habits, learn to love and prioritize themselves, set firm boundaries and stick to them, be more confident, move up exponentially in their careers, and become the best versions of themselves. How badly do you want to get unstuck? How badly do you want to be the best version of you? If you desire more, take the first step right now. Go to my website, lisamdublin.com/coaching, and book a consultation with me. Let's talk about your coaching needs, because the life you want is totally possible.